Now let's take a look at the connection between the hypothalamus and the posterior pituitary, or the neurohypophyses. Now, when we generated our list of the 8 hypothalamic hormones, I left off 2. I left off oxytocin and antidiuretic hormone, or ADH. Now, these 2 hormones are made by the hypothalamus, and I want you to know the exact nuclei that make them. Oxytocin is made by cells of the paraventricular nucleus. Paraventricular, ULAR, nucleus. And those cells send their axons through the infundibulum of the pituitary gland and have their axon terminals that can release that hormone down here in the posterior pituitary, or the neurohypophyses. Now, antidiuretic hormone is made in cells of the supraoptic nucleus. The hypothalamus is made up of all sorts of collections of cells, and they get the term nuclei or nucleus. They make similar hormones, and cells of the supraoptic nucleus make antidiuretic hormone and send their axons down to the posterior pituitary, where ADH can be released from the axon terminals. Now, the pituitary stalk, or the infundibulum, this is the infundibulum. Lots of infundibulum in the body. We saw one associated with the fallopian tubes. The infundibulum, or the hypothalamic pituitary stalk, we'll go with. Pituitary stalk is neural tissue. It contains the axons that carry the hypothalamic hormones to be stored in the axon terminals of the posterior pituitary gland. We call these axon terminals herring bodies. And I believe it's with 2 R's, but I'm not sure. I'll just go 2 R's. Herring bodies. That doesn't look quite right to me, but I'm not too concerned about that. Now, these herring bodies contain oxytocin or antidiuretic hormone. And when these cells are stimulated, they'll send action potentials down the infundibulum to release these hormones. And when these hormones get released, they end up in the blood. There's a capillary plexus in the posterior pituitary that will pick up these hormones This is well, if we had a superior hypophyseal artery, we'd probably have an inferior hypophyseal. Hypophyseal artery that carries blood in, scoops up through a capillary plexus, those hormones, and then carries them away through an inferior hypophyseal vein to their target organs. This is a little bit different than the connection for the anterior pituitary. This is the hypothalamic hypophyseal tract. This is a neural connection. The hypothalamic hypophyseal tract. My question to you is this CNS or is this PNS? And how do you know? These are the two connections between the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. The anterior blood connection and the posterior neural connection.